We're back.
Sorry.
We apologize. Technical difficulties. Once again, Tom Matuska with Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company, Amber Ingalls Wilder. We got our camera girl Joss and Mandy, who won't let us take pictures of her yet. And we're gonna touch on maybe some finish fleshing today, and we're gonna talk about pickles, and some of you maybe have wanted to experiment with tanning your own hides and are a little fearful of doing that, and we're gonna show you how to get started doing that. Now remember, when you get, for instance, a deer cape, if you're unfamiliar with any of this, get one of your own. Don't start on a customer's. If you never, say you're a bird person, you're gonna do your first deer, make sure that you practice. Practice on something of your own or something that's expendable. Never use a customer's trophy to practice on.
Who is it?
That's me.
Who?
Sorry, everybody, I knew that. Okay, so anyway, you're gonna get a deer in, and remember, it's kind of critical and very, very helpful to take some measurements once it comes in the door and you start the caping process. For instance, every deer comes in the door. The first thing we do is we put a tag on the antlers because we don't want anybody's antlers to get mixed up. We put a tag on the antlers. These type of tags are very helpful. They have all the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, as well as your state information on them, license numbers and all of that sort of thing. I put all the critical information here. I write the person's name in big magic marker here, and I'll just take a big old piece of clear packaging tape and wrap it around the main beam, and it stays on there until we mount the deer.
Yeah.
Okay, so the antlers are tagged. We also, if you don't want to get those type of tags, we've got little waterproof tags like this that hold ink really well. They're inexpensive. I think they probably come like the 500s. And this too can be put on with a Ziploc little zip tie.
Do you have to worry about them getting wet?
Not these. These are waterproof. And so are these. These are actual tie-back material. You can't rip these.
Oh my.
No, you won't rip them.
You see
And
that?
those other ones can go all the way through the whole
Pickle process, yeah.
Come back with, and you still have your name and
And we have impresso tags too that are a very nice tag. It's kind of a sheet of maybe, I don't know, aluminum or something that makes a dent when you write on it. The ink actually doesn't stick on the tag, but it'll make a dent where your ballpoint went, and you'll be able to read that all the way through the whole process. But we get a deer in. It's very, very, very helpful to measure from the tip of the nose to the front corner of the eye. And most of your catalogs, that's the A measurement. And that kind of basically, for me, I guess, tells you how old of a deer that is. Around here, I'd say 3/4 of our deer are 7.5-inch nose to eye. And that will get us into any of the deer that are up into the 140s, I would say, which is a lot of our mounters. You get into that 7 3/4, that 8-inch nose to eye, we tend to get a bigger, heavier deer, and now you're getting into trophy category. Seems like the heads on the bigger deer, just measure bigger, and not only is the length bigger, also the width of the face, the width of the muzzle, the depth of the muscle, that all changes as the deer gets older. So that's a measurement we like to have. So we'll write it in the book. We'll take whichever game head came in, we'll put the person's name, we'll put information that we need to know about his deer, we'll put the size that we measure. We like to measure these deer when they come in fresh, as well as if we send them to the tannery, we measure them when they come back, and we measure them before we send them in.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another measurement I like to take is I like to take those neck measurements. If I have enough of the neck left in the skin, we like to take, we'll call it the B measurement for Matuska measuring. This is a 19 and a half. And you go 3 inches down, we're into about a 21 and a half. And this is 19 and a half by 21. And I will write that down. I know when you cape a deer, you usually write the measurements down for us. So if we send that hide to the tannery and we get it back, those measurements should correlate to what we get back. If something's way drastically wrong, you're gonna wanna check your punches so that you know you've got the right deer cape and something didn't get mixed up. I like to have those measurements, it's pretty handy. Some of you think it's pretty important to measure from the tip of the main beams to the center of the nose or the front of the lip. If you're concerned about getting the angle of the antlers back to the way they were, that can be pretty helpful. So you might want to write that onto your ticket or onto the customer's tag.
Mm-hmm.
And before, I think we showed them how to box
Real
them
quick
up.
on that form that you're using.
Pardon me?
Tell me real quick about that form before you set it down.
Oh, it's one of the new XPs.
This is a new XP.
And for those of you that don't know about the XP,
The XP stands for Extreme Precision because we've been in the supply business for, you were adding up, and more years than I care to say.
you didn't want to admit that.
I don't, but this is probably one of the most accurate whitetail forms to ever hit the market. I think by World Show, secret?
Everything's secret.
Okay.
But not for our live viewers because we want to get them ahead of the game.
Anyway, these are the new XP whitetail forms, semi-sneak, offset shoulder, unbelievable, extremely attractive attitude. You're holding up 2 fingers.
We just had 2 newly available this morning. They're on the website, and if you call in, there's some people that have been waiting for them. So we just have 2 that are fresh out of the mold and ready to go right now.
And for Andy down there in Oklahoma, there's going to be a couple of the Southwest version available, I would say within a week. And we will make sure that you get those right away. This is not a huge selection right now. They're all in the semi-sneak offset. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful form. I think there's going to be about 8 of them within a week.
Come on in, Joe. We got a viewer with a beverage watching us today.
Okay,
Super jealous.
now remember, like we said before, you're going to send them to the tannery because you have no way of tanning things. Send them to the tannery, select the tannery of your choice. You're going to fill out a packing slip like this. It's going to say how many of what. You're going to put 1. We're working on a mule deer cape today. You'll put 1 mule deer cape. You want it wet tan or do you want it dry tan? That's a Wolf River packing slip. If you go online, you can get H&H's, you can get Old Barns. Talk to different people about tanneries. There's some awful good tanneries. Old Barns doing a nice job. H&H does a nice job. As always, Wildlife Gallery does a nice job. And you're gonna...
Kind of like if you were tanning your own, maybe don't throw all your eggs in one basket.
Sure.
Try it out first, send one hide of your own and make sure that you're happy with the result first before you send every single one of your customers in there.
Go online, and if you go to...
The what?
Was he talking about the deer form?
the form?
Oh, the form? You want to see the form or the form?
Want to see the styrofoam form or you want to see the paper form? Okay, feast your eyes on this beauty. Why don't you go ahead and look at Joe, because Joe makes these, and go ahead, shine your shining light on him. That's the man back here in the corner that made this form. These forms have no seams. Rudy, no seams. How did that happen? Anyway, these are a work of art. They're gorgeous, gorgeous form. Anybody that has used them thinks they're like the most white-taily form on the market, and beautiful, beautiful form. Right now, only available in 7.5. We'll come out with a 7 3/4 head. I think is almost done. We'll have a bigger one, and we'll just keep adding and adding and adding. It's the most accurate whitetail we've had our hands on. We use them every chance we can get, and Joe will be making them just as fast as his little red sore fingers can make them. So anyway, the other form, since we don't know what you're talking about, the other form was this. Make sure when you send them to the commercial tannery that you fill out a form. I like to make a copy of this, either duplicate it or something. If you fill it out online, you can run it through your printer twice. Put one someplace safe so that when it comes back, you know whose is whose. So that's very important. Now, when I first started, it was the commercial tannery or instant preserve. A lot of people used instant preserve, dry preservative, and it was impossible to tan your own hides because tanning was a super secret. And I remember going to a taxidermy review in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and there's probably only one or two people in our listening audience that would even remember that. There was a taxidermy review, first of all. It was like the second competition ever, and we went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Jonas Brothers had a booth there, and they said, well, how are you tanning your hides? And I said, well, I send them out, and we were sending them to New Method at the time, and they said, why don't you tan them yourself? I go, oh my gosh, that's like magic voodoo. How are you going to do that? Tan them yourself. That's like magic stuff. And they said, no, tan yourself. Get our Jonas Brothers magic cream, and you rub it on, and it's as good as the commercial tannery. And I did that, and then the hair fell off. Had nothing to do with the Jonas tanning cream. It had everything to do with my knowledge of hair and epidermis and bacteria and things like that. So that kind of started me on my tanning experience, I guess. And so we're going to show you what we've learned since 1986, whatever it was. Out here we have a whole lot of tools that we use, and we'll be touching on these things. We've got a big flesh and beam over there on the other side of Amber. We've got an apron because you want to keep your nice business clothes clean. We have a little fleshing beam that we use on a regular basis. You'll come up with your own fleshing tools because the secret to tanning, more so than any of the chemicals or anything else, is the fleshing. If you don't flesh them thin enough, don't flesh them good enough, tanning, you can tan them with the best material, best chemicals available, and you're not going to have a successful tan. It's all in the fleshing. So we've got you'll come up with your own fleshing tools and different things to help you. Baseball bats. My wife is a big garage sailor, and Vicki likes to go and get bargains, and so I always had her pick me up baseball bats. And the first thing I do with these wooden baseball bats, can you even get wooden baseball bats anymore? Probably not, can you? Hard to find. Anyway, so I would take the baseball bats on the bandsaw, and I would cut the handles off, and then I would make them into something. This was a button one. This is called a fleshing stick, maybe. And I would make something like this, something you can stick up in the nostrils, in the mouth, in the lips, in the ears. So that's something we can't live without. An assortment of dowel rods, sticks that you can stick up in the nostrils. We have them for all different size animals. We've just got a little PVC pipe with all our little fleshing sticks sticking out. And
like for the tips of the ears, especially when you have splits in the ears and you can't get up in the very tips of those.
You get an antelope, you can't stick something like this up in an antelope ear.
Right.
There's a song like that.
You can't get your finger in there.
Oh no, you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Right? Something like that. I knew there's like, can't stick the stick up in the antelope. We have fleshing knives, sharpening material,
knives, Skype knife,
scalpels. We couldn't be without our scalpels.
Yeah.
And there's an assortment of different type of scalpels, and you'll find different blades. Yes.
Back to your form. What's the next? The foam form.
The foam.
What's the next neck size going to be on the 7 3/4?
7 3/4.
We don't have the 7 3/4. Right now we have the 7.5 by 18.5 by 20, and we have one of the 7.5 by 18 by 19 and one of the 7.5 by 19 by 21, and soon we'll have the other two sizes. Next.
And Joe, you just rolled out 19 by 21. Was that the one?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a 19.5 by 22 and an 18 by 20, correct?
Yeah, I just said 19 by 21. But are the different widths of the head you offer in your catalog? For the XP, they're online right now only. Yeah. So the ones, and as they become available, we'll put them online as soon as they are. And you can always find what we talk about if it's not in the catalog. There's a tab, there's a section on the website that says what's new. As soon as something comes and we're ready to stock it for you guys, we put it on there, so you should have access to it right away on that.
And let me touch on one other important aspect of these XP forms. A 7.5 inch nose to eye, as the deer gets bigger and older, he may still be a 7.5, but the 7.5 is a bigger 7.5. So as this form gets larger, the 7.5 increases slightly to correspond with an older deer with a 7.5 inch face, which most lines of deer mannequins aren't like that. They're a 7.5 to 7.5. These faces increase incrementally as the deer gets bigger, as the form gets bigger.
Yeah, as the next size goes
So
up.
when you get a, if you were to get a 21 by 23, that 7.5 is going to be a little bit bigger than that 18 by 21.
Right.
18 by 20. How many more times do I have to lift it up?
Form. How's that arm doing?
I'm good. Blake, look at Blake.
Full recovery.
Okay, we've got a helping hand. Is that what it's called? Your little yellow flusher. These are very popular, and it's handy for a couple of reasons. One is it's got 4 cutting edges. Just by turning the blade different directions, you can get another
Super
cutting
sharp.
surface.
So they can make you super sharp.
And they're I want to say a carpet blade,
Yeah.
a little bit like a box cutter, but they're square. And
The blade
that
comes
little-
in and out.
That little yellow handle facilitates holding it flat so you don't cut through the hide. So a lot of people like that. Have a lot of requests for those. Different scissors we use. Calipers, of course, for measuring, tape measure for measuring, and our fleshing knives that we'll do a lot of fleshing to get the fat and the meat off of. And I guess with that, do you want to explain your process once you cape out a deer, because you do a lot of caping for us? Run me through what you do, because proper or not, it's probably some of the nicest salted capes I've ever seen. So go ahead and tell us that, and then we'll maybe take them into making a pickle.
Okay, so once I cape it, can I grab the
Yeah.
knife and just bring it on over?
We
Once I-
worked on this cape a little bit today, just so we can show you
Yeah.
partially done and partially not.
Ron McDougall wants to know how long we're gonna be going tonight. We got so much to go over and talk about. We might be going all
Oh, you
night.
said you had things too, right?
I got some fun stuff.
Okay.
Once I cape it, we're gonna go ahead and start to split everything, because right after you cape it, that lip skin is wrapped over. It's like this. So you have skin that wraps over on the inside, and we need to fillet that open so that that salt can penetrate in and get to all
If
of
you
that.
cut too deep, do the fingernails fall out?
To the well, how would you describe it?
Right, that's
Yeah.
good.
So we went ahead and we would start to split the lips, and we would proceed to do the same thing with the eyelids, because there's the same outer shiny skin layer basically that's on the outer part with the hair, and then once it rolls in to the inner part of the eyeball, you still have to split that to, again, make sure that salt can penetrate up in there. The nose we would split as well down the center of the cartilage. Now all of this we did cover in another video that we did, 3-4 weeks ago, I think. There's a whole video that we did, and we kind of touched on each subject and split a bobcat. Was it a bobcat that we split that night?
Yeah, you
So-
can do a bobcat, yeah.
Yeah, yep. But all the principles are basically the same. It's the same thing. It's just smaller.
You gotta
than
do
deer.
the same whether it's a bobcat or a beaver,
Right.
whitetail or an elk.
Right. Even on an animal all the way down to an otter that has very little ear, we still split
Sure.
those itty bitty ears, just to make sure, because otherwise that salt will not be able to penetrate to get in, and you run the risk of losing hair. So same thing with the ears. We split the ears, turn the cartilage to the outside, and we try to make sure that it's pretty close all the way out. It doesn't have to be right to the edge. Maybe within 1/4 of an inch is ideal. So we would have everything like that, and we would go ahead and put it up onto a board, because at that point we would have gotten the face ready to accept the salt, but the body would still be pretty gross at that point. There would be whatever little pieces of flank that are left on there, meat and chunks of fat, especially down here in the brisket area and on the lower part, you'll run into a lot of that fat. So salt won't penetrate through the fat, so you have to make sure that you scrape that off. And the beams work really, really nice for that. When you do this, you want to make sure you wear an apron so you don't get your shirt all gross. So you would just have an apron. I am actually a little bit too short for this fleshing beam.
Me too.
So I have a little step stool that I stand on when I do this. And then you would just take this is a dull knife, this isn't the sharp one, and you could use a sharp one too. I've actually started to become a little bit more fond of the sharp one.
The sharp one is faster.
And you don't have to be so rigorous. This is kind of a workout here, especially when you get into bigger animals, you get into elk, and it's a workout. So
big pipes.
Yeah, so you would just
Notice
proceed to go through the whole thing and work it, and that takes down all of the fat. Now this is already been done to this height, so it's not going to take off a whole lot, but eventually it would get down to where it's pretty clean, about like what it looks like now, because that's all that's been done to it.
Now I've seen you put salt on a hide before you flesh them.
Yeah, and that's a neat little trick. That can help soak up, because some of the hides are, they're pretty, I don't know how to explain it, pretty juicy, I guess. And if you salt it up, what happens is it kind of gets into all of that little membrane that's hanging out on the top here, and it soaks up that extra moisture, and it makes it so that it kind of just scrapes off a little bit easier. Helps that knife grab a hold of it instead of just slipping over the top of it. And it does work really nice. Salt them before, just even roll it up, set it in your salt bin for even an hour or something, and just let that salt kind of go to work, and then pick it up, put it on your beam, and a lot of that membrane will really scrape off. So the reason that you're salting is to preserve it, to be able to send it to a tannery, but you can't send it right away, you gotta dry it.
The salt will, there's slippage is caused from bacteria growth, and the epidermis breaks down. Epidermis breakdown or bacteria growth is caused from two elements: temperature and temperature.
We got another beverage drinking watcher back here. Audience.
We're running a bar around here.
Live audience.
Warmth, which this type of temperature is plenty warm for bacteria to grow, and moisture. And the moisture that's in the hide itself is plenty of moisture. So it's necessary to take away at least one, hopefully both of the elements. So that's why freezing skins, that lowers the temperature and preserves them, or salt takes away the moisture. If you ever go on a hunting trip, you have no way of refrigerating anything, flush the hide the best you can, put salt on it. It wicks moisture away from the hide, setting the hair and the epidermis, so you won't have any problems.
Right.
So that's what salt is. It takes moisture out. If you're going to send them to the tannery like you were talking about, you can't send the hide in a box because it's going to leak out. UPS doesn't like that. Tyler Keimer will get all upset when his boxes to Wildlife Gallery are leaking out of the UPS truck. So
right.
Put a little salt on and let the salt take away the moisture. Fold them up as you can.
And this will be a process. It'll take a while. It doesn't happen in minutes. We usually salt them.
2-3
hang them up.
days maybe.
Yep.
And then like I always have to have Amber, I like to have her, as they dry, start rolling them up so they'll go in a box, right, Amber?
Yes.
Yeah. Because an elk that doesn't get folded up takes about an 8-foot box.
Jig and Jim says, I was told that using a long knife stretches the skin too much.
We've never had a skin stretch too much. I've never experienced that. I assume he's talking about this type. I think you can stretch a hide out lengthways to where you're going to want to work it the other direction to get your circumference and girth back.
Yep. Come back and pull it. But
that's possible if you have them the lengthways of the neck, you probably could stretch them for length.
In
take
fact,
the
a
width.
lot of times when I salt, I'll do that. I'll kind of take and, no, don't crank
Get your
on it,
shape
but just
back.
kind of, yeah, get your shape back. Because sometimes by putting them on the board, it does really elongate the height. But if you just come back and just kind of pull on them widthwise, have them all laid out in your salt bin, salt them up, rub in that salt real well, and then just have it
When
laid
you
out.
talk about, you mentioned a couple times the salt bin, we have a big fiberglass tray that we use, but we've always got along really good with little kids swimming pools. Go to Walmart and get yourself one of those blue molded swimming pools, and we usually put a board in it so the hides are on a slope. As you salt them, the juice will go down into and evaporate or get soaked up by the salt that's in the bottom of the tub, and it keeps your floor clean, keeps your tannery clean. We save our salt bags. We have the live deer, so we have deer bag, feed bags too, that we throw all of our salt, away. We collect it and throw it.
When do you use a product like Stop Rot?
You tell me. Stop Rot. There's a couple of products. There is Stop Rot. There is Stop Slip.
Yeah.
What's the other one? There's another one, and I have had. As you're working on a deer, usually during the mounting process, I think, is when you might experience, or hair coming out, which you have epidermis, breaking down in here, and you go, oh my gosh, it's a panic type situation, and you go, grab the Stop Rot or grab the Stop Slip, one of the two, and you read directions and it says dilute and spray on. No, we're using it straight, so we just start dumping a whole quart of Stop Rot on or Stop Slip. And I have had instances where I thought, oh my gosh, this is the most, when people call me up and they'll say, does this stuff really work? I will say, there are times where it's the best product in the world, and there's times where I thought, didn't work as good as last time. I would have it in my shop. I would use it when all of a sudden something's happening. It for certainly will not hurt anything. Sometimes you might not get the results that you're hoping for, but it definitely is worth a try. And we have saved some hides that we didn't think we could save before. You have some things you were going to talk about.
Well, you keep going. I'll save it to the end because it's some good stuff that they want to stay tuned for.
Okay. Why don't you go through some of your fleshing tools over there and some of your favorites.
Well, at that point, once you salt it, if you were going to send it out to
let's
the
make a pickle,
tannery,
right?
yes, yep. So if you're going to send it out to the tannery, you would have it all wrapped up, nice and tight, and put it into a box, and it's all rock hard, and send it out to your tannery. Don't put them in a plastic bag inside of the box. Just make sure you tape up the edges of your box real good and just get it sent out. What we're going to kind of focus on tonight is if we're going to be tanning our own. So now we're going to start to go through a whole bunch of steps for if we're going to be tanning our own, and we're just making that very clear because there's a lot of confusion when it comes to that, especially people who are new to the.
We see it all the time with students because we show them how to use commercial tannery, and then we go right into tanning them, and they all tan hides while they're here, and we have unbelievably successful results. I mean, beautiful stretch, nice thin leather, beautiful hair. I mean, we think we tan a really exceptional product here. But when they go home, you can sense some of them are confused as to, well, I'm tanning them myself. Do I have to turn the ears and split the lip? Yes, you have to do all that process no matter what.
Right.
So just to be clear, once you've skinned the animal, just like she described, you're gonna need a beam of some sort. Those are maple, I believe, beams, and typical that's approved fleshing wood, I guess. Anyway, they don't come with a stand like that. That's something you make and you something nice and sturdy because you're gonna be leaning on it. You're gonna be putting a lot of pressure on it and fleshing it. You're gonna need some kind of a fleshing knife. Speed is of the essence at this point. As you're fleshing these hides, it is very necessary not to take 2 days doing this. You have to flesh that, get the fat and the meat off of here, and I would say when Amber does it, for her to flesh this ready to salt, I'm gonna say is under a half hour. I'd say 20 minutes probably. maybe 45 with the splitting of the ears and lips, something like that, under an hour anyway. If it's taking you 4 to 5 to 6 hours to get a hide ready for salt, you are taking away 4 to 5 to 6 hours from your mounting time in the end. So you want to really develop a fast technique for this. You want to do it really thoroughly, really good. I had a guy work for me one time that had worked for another taxidermist. He fleshed his hide with a razor blade, and he spent an entire day fleshing a hide. I am getting nauseous because this hide's going to start slipping, and it's looking beautiful, but beautiful and hair falling out. We don't want that. So you want to get them into the salt. So you're going to lay this hide out. You're going to salt it. Whether it's a short cape or an open cape, doesn't matter to me. They're all going to be treated the same. So we've got a cape like that. Make sure you mark it. You're going to need to know whose is whose. We'll put a little punch down in here. Can you see one on there?
Mm-hmm.
We'll also put a tag on it.
Punch in 3-digit code.
What's your 3-digit code look like?
Oh, it's kind of covered up by some stuff, but yeah.
And you can do it with a knife. You can do it with a little punch.
And we usually do it in 2 different spots, just in case something would happen to one of them. Just in case.
Then
You can't read one.
you're going to put all your salt on here. And it doesn't take that much salt. I would say to salt a hide like this, and we're using non-iodized. Ours is actually a feed additive. Go to the farmer's elevator in your area and tell them you want a white mineral salt. You know, they add it to feed. We get different versions sometimes, but the iodine has little purple specks in it you don't really need, and just white mineral salt. Then I would say for a hide like this size, you're probably going to put on 2.5 to 3 pounds. 2 pounds rubbed in is way better than 50 pounds dumped on. So you want to put the salt on, and you want to work it into every little crevice, every fold of the skin. I like to take salt. When I first started, I would get my hides back from the tannery, and I would get these deer back, and they didn't have hair inside their ears. And I'd go, oh, what happened? Darn tannery. Tannery must have done it. You know, I was taught to blame the tannery for everything. Anyway, I would put salt, or I didn't put salt down in the ears. Well, this is the inside of the ear, and salt can't penetrate cartilage. The only way to get the skin on the other side of this cartilage is through this hole right here. So we always put 1 handful in there and then work it back and forth. That takes the moisture and sets the hair, so it takes the moisture out of the inside of that skin, sets the hair. Another thing that I never did is I didn't know anything about salt not penetrating cartilage, so all of the deer that I get back from the tannery had a little slip spot right here on the side of their muzzle. Call darn tannery? Tannery did it every single time, you know.
Sorry, Sam.
I'm gonna switch tanneries because they're ruining my capes. What it was is I didn't know you have to lift up this cartilage, which lays adhered to the top of the snout. You have to lift that up, get it off of there, and salt this around there because salt cannot penetrate that cartilage, hence a slip spot right here. Big buffalo, cattle type animals, moose, I didn't know that this is too fat for salt to penetrate today or tomorrow. It's going to take 3 days for salt to penetrate that. So I would get buffalo back from the tannery with big slip spots around the eyes. Got there in tannery, you know, ruined another buffalo. And
No wonder you use so many different tanneries.
took me a few years to figure this business out. You need to flesh that nice and thin. Look how nice this is. Okay, so salt them. Once they go into the salt, what would you say? We leave them in there for sure overnight with fans running. We want them nice and firming up, but we don't want them crispy. If we send them to the tannery, they have methods of softening up your hides, rehydration, that will make them nice and supple. We don't want to have to go through a rehydration. So we usually will put ours into a pickle the next day. So we're going to salt our hide, salt, let's say 12 to 24 hours. Then from there, they're gonna go into a pickle.
This is only if you're tanning yourself.
Are we confusing them?
No.
Okay, they're gonna go into a pickle. Lots of different recipes for pickles out there. And we have a pickle typically is made up of salt, water. It's a recipe, it's a formula, if you wanna call it that. Salt, water. Ours contains a bactericide and an acid. And I always, when I explain it, I think it's a little bit like if you ever shoot a pheasant, you know, and we always took our pheasant breasts, you know, they're kind of slimy and not very pretty and shot in them, things like that. We will mix up some salt water in a bowl and we'll put our pheasant breasts in there, and the water turns all syrupy and sludgy, but the breasts come out real nice and white. It flushes out all the subcutaneous vein work in the tissue. It does the same thing. It cleans up these hides very, very well. We've always used a formic acid pickle. I think I started out with oxalic acid. There's many different acids you can use. We're going to show you a couple different ones today, but there's going to be oxalic. You need some kind of an acid. It's going to be citric. There's going to be formic. There's a whole lot of different safety acids and safety pickles and things like that.
And you hear about a lot of people using those with good success.
Now, anytime you're using an acid, acid is caustic and typically, you know, can burn you. We have used formic acid for years. Formic acid comes like this with a little skull and crossbones on it. It's got little corrosive stickers back here. I always describe formic as if I put formic in my hand right here, it will come out down here. It will burn you very, very bad. When you're using formic acid, make sure that you use rubber gloves, make sure that you use goggles, an apron. Respirator is not a bad idea. Formic acid is dangerous. Once it's diluted into your pickle, you're gonna put in 13 ounces. We make our pickles out of a 20-gallon barrel. 20 gallons of water, 13 ounces of formic. The pH is the same as vinegar, and you can drink vinegar. I mean, it's basically diluted enough that it's harmless. It's not gonna hurt you if you get it on your hands. Still not a bad idea to use rubber gloves, things like that.
Well, and the salt helps.
Another acid is as potent as formic is citric acid. Did I write citric acid?
Yes.
Citric acid, this is as strong as that. I cannot put my hand in here. Look at this. Citric acid is without water, it has no water in it. Citric acid is basically harmless. So citric acid is very safe to have around your shop.
Now-
Keep it away from kids, of course, no matter what.
If they do decide to use this, they want to make sure they keep some baking soda nearby
For spills?
for spills. If for some reason you would get a splash or whatever, something would happen, have the baking soda right there.
So once upon a time, shipping this puts us into a whole different category of freight, UPS, FedEx, and we have to have hazardous, hazmat, all that training and stuff. So we quit selling formic acid, we quit shipping it. We used to take it to shows. So before one of our big shows, I'm downstairs in a little table like this, and I've got my respirator and I've got everything, and I've got my formic acid in a funnel, and I'm pouring it into the bottles for the nice people, you know? And all of a sudden, ooh, something burns. And I look, and I had spilled some, which ran up next to the table, which I had a line of wet acid on my pants. I go, that's not good. So I took off my pants, and I got baking soda, because you always got baking soda around, because
scared.
you don't want to, you know, something can happen, you know? So I got this white baking soda powder, and I'm rubbing it all over my legs. So I'm standing in my underwear, and my pants are on my ankle.
You
Dan
can't beat
Messer,
this.
who Joe knows, Dan Messer, worked for me. He comes in, He looked at me, he said, I'm not even gonna ask. And he walked right out. Anyway, baking soda saved me.
That's good.
Okay, to give you an example of how easy this is, the acid is gonna do several things for you. One is, it's gonna set the hair so we have no fear of losing this hide. This hide, prior to being salted, nothing's protecting it. Salt will protect it, but it's gonna dry it up and it's gonna be hard to work with. You need to, you need to put it into a pickle. The pickle is gonna set the hair. It's gonna firm up the skin so it makes it very easy to flesh, and it's gonna clean that skin up really pretty. You can see how we've run this over the machine a couple times and we fleshed it, and see how it's starting to turn blue and white compared to, this is just a salted skin gone into pickle.
Right.
So normally when we tan a hide, we will mix up a barrel that'll put 7 at a time. We do 7 at a time. And when you're unfamiliar with this, being responsible with not knowing ounces, not knowing weights, things like that, one hide that's expendable, something that you shot, maybe you shot a little deer, or maybe you bought a cape from somebody, or somebody gave you one, that's the one to practice on, not a customer one.
Right.
So, if we're gonna do one cape, we can do one cape in a 5-gallon bucket, very, very easily. I have pre-filled a 5-gallon bucket. I've got about 4 pounds of water.
4 gallons.
For 4 gallons of water, I've got 4 pounds of salt measured out.
So it's 50-50 ratio for that? Your
Not
salt to
exact.
water?
So we're going to do a citric acid. Pickle. I'm going to do it in a 5-gallon bucket, but so that it doesn't go all over the place, I stopped at 4 gallons. I got 4 gallons of water. Now, I've had people tell me, you know, they're concerned about well water and their water's real hard water or soft water. I'm not sure it makes a difference. It might, you know.
Might change the pH.
Might change something. Your pH is your end result that you want to watch. Okay, to 4 gallons of water, I'm going to put in 4 pounds of salt. So in here, I'm going to dump in 4 pounds of salt. That's a pile of salt. But I'm going to stir it up. And again, this is salt we get from the elevator. I've pre-measured it out. Now, that salt will go to the bottom and it'll just sit there. How about a stir stick? Do we have one? Yeah.
Make sure to like and share for your chance to win. We'll have a winner here at the end for last week's shares, which we had 34 shares last week on our live video.
Okay, now that salt will settle out and it's going to want to go down there. So when we make a big pickle, we will put the salt in, we'll stir it up really good. I'll probably come in the morning and stir it up before I put hides in also. You can also, I shouldn't even tell you this because somebody will do it, you can also use hot water to dissolve your salt. Dissolves your salt very, very fast. Don't put a hide in hot water here. Water has to cool. Okay, now I can still, as I stop, I can feel the salt, you know, coagulate down in the bottom again, kind of puddles down the bottom. So I do have to keep stirring this. I'll let it sit, and before I ever put a hide in, I'll stir it up really good. You want your salt to be saturated. There is a tool, if you don't know if you're putting in enough salt, it's called a salinimeter, and it's almost like putting an egg, an egg will float if there's a certain amount of salt content. The salinimeter is a test tube looking piece of glass with a weight in the bottom, and it has percentages on the side. You want 35 to 40% salt content in your water. And so you put this little test tube in there, and it's got these marks, and when it stops bouncing all around, you read the percentage, and that's how you know. Okay? Also, if I'm using citric acid, I'm going to put 3 ounces per gallon. I've got 4 gallons of water. I'm going to put 3 ounces per gallon. That's 12 ounces. These are a 7-ounce cup. So I'm going to guesstimate 6 ounces, and I'm going to do it twice.
If this is anything like your cooking, no one's gonna recreate it.
I never heard you complain before.
No, but I could never remake it. Little of this, little of that. Is formic acid recipe the same, or what's?
Formic acid, you won't put in as much formic. Formic, you put 13 ounces in a 20-gallon pickle. So in 4, you're going to put 3 ounces. So much less formic. Formic is much stronger.
There you go, Miranda.
The formic acid recipe, just remember 13 ounces per 20 gallons. Okay, now, one more secret ingredient. A lot of people do not think this is very important. It's absolutely critical for our tanning around here. I want a bactericide in here. And everybody says you don't need a bactericide. Bruce Rotell has told me you do not need a bactericide with the acid content that you're doing. How come when I put in bactericide, I cut our slippage problems to nothing, you know? So this for me is liquid insurance. It's called Lemon Plot 64. It's just a good grade hospital disinfectant. Smells like lemon plots.
In our catalog, we call it Chemco.
Chemco. I'm gonna put in a little splash.
Same thing.
It's concentrated. If you put too much in, you waste it. You know, and it doesn't take much. But bactericide in any of my pickles just is very important to me.
Yeah, and for what, a 20-gallon, make sure you do what, a half a cup?
Not quite even, probably. Okay, now there's some ways to check how you're doing here. First of all, the salinimeter will tell you your salt content. If you have everything sitting out in front of you and you have empty containers, you go, I must have put it in there, rather than wondering if you filled up a container. This is pH paper. It measures the pH. It's litmus paper, really. Measures the pH or the acid content. And to give you a demonstration, this is what it looks like in there. I've taken it out of the container. To give you a demonstration, I'm going to peel off a little piece, and we're going to see what water is. I'm going to walk over to the faucet, and water turns my litmus paper kind of a dark forest green. If I look here, that's way over into the 6 side, number 6, which is very, very basic. Water's basic. Now, if I were to take pure acid, pure formic acid, and I touch it onto the pH paper, look at that, we're red, like a Christmas tree. Pure acid, no acid, and we want a reading of somewhere around 2 to 3. So I want it towards the red side of orange.
We want to see I can't say it, the salamander.
Salamander? I'll see if I can find it.
I got one here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So, how's it work?
I'll show you. Now I'm heavy into the acid side here. I want about 2.0. I'm about a 2.0. I'm a little acidic.
Where are your gloves, sir?
I haven't done anything that I need in them yet.
That's from Miranda. We're working on
Lambert?
his safety. No.
She will not leave me alone. I tell you, she's been hounding me.
All right, now that's a pickle that nothing really goes wrong with these pickles. You can keep hides in them for a long, long time. I did an aoudad, which is in our showroom. Hate to admit it, it was in the pickle for 7 years because
But you have to keep on.
you have to
Mix
keep
it.
agitating, keep stirring it up. If it starts evaporating, you're gonna wanna add more, not just water, more pickle. So I mix up another 5 gallons of pickle and put it in. But your hides are very, very safe in here. Take your salted hide the day after you salted it and put it into your pickle, plunge it up and down. Now you can work at it at your leisure. You can pull it out, you can work on it an hour today, you can work on it 6 hours today. You can work on it as long as you want to. When you're done, put it back into the pickle. The only time we won't put it into the pickle is if we started sewing, because the acid in the pickle, we feel, you keep laughing at
You
these.
should have goggles on too, they say.
I cover my eyes. We put it, we don't put them in the pickle after we've sewn because we think the acid can eat nylon. So that's a pickle. Now, once your hide goes in there, you can flesh and relax.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
I think it's good. I think it's great.
Do you reuse or dispose when the acid is dissolved?
We don't reuse it typically because the acid's been used up. Let me tell you something else. Once you put a hide in here, you're gonna notice that your acid content, you're gonna be curious, so you're gonna get your litmus paper out, and after a couple days you're gonna say, geez, I wonder how my acid's doing here. And you test it, and then you'll go, oh my gosh, it's up to 4, and you're gonna get more acid, you're gonna start dumping it in.
Careful with that.
I got the lid on, I checked it. Remember the ketchup bottle? Terry Bunn remembers the ketchup bottle. Anyway, I call it chasing the pickle. Do not keep dumping the acid in. Your acid did its work. It's in the hide. The hair is set. Don't keep adding acid. On the same hand, don't add another hide to it once that hide's been in the pickle for a while. Mix new.
And we've done it before where we've had 2 pickles made up at different times, and once they've sat in their own pickle for a while, then you can combine them after a few days. But yeah, you wanna
Let the pickle do its job. Oh, gonna show them. Okay, now I didn't measure very well, so I'm gonna have a plenty hefty salt content. Here is 35%, like way up there. So I'm gonna put this in, it's gonna bounce all over the place for a while.
What's the pH number your pickle should be at?
Now I'm more at 45% of my salt content, so I'm plenty high.
Just like your cooking.
Just like my cooking, a little salty, wasn't it? What was your question?
What was the pH number your pickle should be at?
2.0 is pretty safe. The lower, towards 1, will set the hair really good, but we found that if you go below 2, down towards 1, it can curl the fine hair. And we've noticed on antelope, especially antelope has real wispy hair, big hollow hair, and it's wispy at the ends. You can get a little curl that you go, it's just a little curl on the end of the hair. I don't want to have it much below 2. Okay, that's pickle. That's pickle prep. You can use this, like I said, the acid went into the hide. If you want to use it over, this is going to get pretty grungy. It is going to take all the juices and all the fluids out of that hide, and this is going to get pretty syrupy. You're not going to want to use it again because you think, oh, I don't want to put another hide in there, nice clean hide. You don't want to, your salt, you're going to save a little bit of salt. Salt's very cheap, so you're going to save a little bit of salt, a a little bit of water, and your acids, you're gonna have to use more acid. So to reuse a pickle, you're not saving a whole lot of dollars for the risk. I would mix new.
And
Now,
it's cleaner.
Now, this is the first step into your tanning process, and then it's flesh, flesh, flesh. We didn't get too far with the fleshing today. We'll maybe do that next time and show them a bunch of the fleshing. I want to show you the machine, show you the different kind of machines. Mandy has 1,000 different things. She's got a big old box here
Got a lot.
to show you.
First, Derek Harriman from Sandy Acres, Utah. You are the winner from last week's shares. So remember to like and share this video for your chance to win next week. Derek will wait for you to tune in and let us know you're watching to claim your prize. Otherwise, it'll go to someone else that's watching live. I'll let you guys pull this stuff out. And Easter is this weekend, so a big happy early Easter to everybody. So because Easter's coming, we thought we would,
Advertise turkeys.
yeah,
Oh, it's Thanksgiving.
I know, well, chick, you know, like
Oh, chick.
chick,
Filet?
sure. But because turkey,
turkey
season,
That's what you're getting at.
it is turkey season, and spring chicken, spring turkey, no, okay. So,
I come to work every day and there is a tom, turkey, and a hen every single day, and I'm thinking nobody would ever know. There's nobody around. Little 17 caliber right there's noggin. I think I can get it, pretty sure. There are no finer turkey bodies on the market than Wildlife Illusions turkey bodies. Look at the detail.
he has two
The
sizes
legs,
on those.
Index in. Excellent place for the ball joint.
So this is Corey Crothers turkey body, two sizes. Very nice detail to that.
Nice strutters or standers.
Anthony Eddie's turkey heads.
These are, a lot of people, when you say artificial turkey heads, it kind of turns them off. They want to use the freeze-dried turkey head, or, they don't want a plastic turkey head. There is no nicer looking turkey head. When people see these, everybody wants them. And you can, if you, they don't have the little hairs on them, you can either glue some in, you can paint some on, the little water brush. There's all different methods of putting hair back on these without spending a whole lot of time. These are very attractive and very realistic looking.
And sold unpainted or painted.
If you want to paint them yourself, you can do
So,
that.
and that's our turkey pan pastel kit. And in this pan pastel kit, they have, let's see, they come with 10 colors. 10 colors. And then they also come with some soft brushes for application. But the guys in Amber have all hand-picked these colors for you and put the kits together. They're exclusively found at Matuska Taxidermy. But all the turkey stuff we are going to be offering now through Monday, 25% off. So take advantage of that. 25% off turkey stuff starting right now.
Oh look, a rabbit form. Thought since Easter we
So
should have a rabbit
turkey
form.
it up. So you have 25% off. Another thing is all the tools and stuff that they've talked about and used is also on the website under live featured products. So you can find all that. The helping hand yellow thing is what it's also called. Amber's got all of her little tools here that what do you got? Fleshing knife, sharpener, the Weeby blue skinning knife, scalpel blades, scythe knife, the taxidermy shears, Wesnips, cone. So all that stuff you can find on the website. We're still waiting for Derek Harriman to chime in, otherwise it's going to go to somebody else. Another thing we are doing is, let's see here. We are going to be doing, well first, this is your 25% off flyer. 25% off turkey stuff. Don't miss out. We are doing we kind of decided we need to start another award besides the competitors award. And it needs to be a Basematic award. But we don't have time to do that right now. So it's Basematic. It needs to be in the process, but we saw so many people using our bases and our habitat
Oh, man.
and our barnwood and all that, and we want to give back to somebody.
Brad
So,
Grabber's got it.
well, he has to send us pictures.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little contest for our employees to choose, and we're gonna be giving away a $100 gift certificate for some lucky winner. But what you need to do is send us a high-res image of your piece using one of our rocks, driftwood, barnwood, turkey branch, whatever it may be. Send those to us at matuskataxidermy@gmail.com or our Facebook page. And what we'll do is we're gonna let all our employees pick their winner. And so that's gonna be our Basematic award for $100. So send us those. Another thing we're gonna be doing, and I'm not gonna go too much into it, but with all the flooding going on in Nebraska, South Dakota, and Missouri, we were thinking of doing the Matuska flood relief. I haven't told my dad yet, that's why he's looking at me blankly. And what we'd like to do is, if you guys know somebody that is struggling with the damage from the water, send us their story and we're gonna pick one lucky winner and help them out with supplies and things like that. So send us their story for them to get a chance to get their shop back up and running, and we'd like to help out. So send us those, also matuskataxidermy@gmail or our Facebook page. We are live every...
I have a flood relief story.
Do you? You always do. Let's hear it.
Well, Brett knows somebody whose boat was on the trailer in the barn and it floated off and got all banged up. And she needs some relief. That's the story.
Fred, yours, yes, it is. I would totally take a high-res image of it, though, if you could send me that. But yes, I'm just gonna keep going. I don't even know. So that was one thing. Another thing is, Amber, I had those glasses in there.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a random fact. For those that like the lighted glasses or are thinking about getting the lighted glasses, the 2.0 and the 3.0, when they are gone, they are discontinued from the company. So if you don't have a pair and you've been thinking about it, you better get them now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The safety's still available, but the reading glasses are discontinued from the company.
It's the best thing, too.
I better get another pair.
I know. So the 2.0 and 3.0, when they're gone, so take advantage. Remember the XP series forums? We have the 2 more available online. You can check those out. And I don't see Derek Harriman chiming in. So, beautiful, beautiful. So why don't you guys pick, I have a number, go ahead and start guessing 1 to 20, and I will pick the lucky winner as soon as I see it. As soon as I see it come across.
And next week, I think we'll probably just keep on with this, I think, until we get that hide down.
I think so. Yep.
Someone was asking neutralizing. Were you going to talk about that? Because that's important.
Once this hide, we won't get into it today, but once this hide comes out of the pickle, prior to tanning, we're going to show you 2 different methods of tanning. Prior to tanning, you want to neutralize that acid, render it harmless in the hide. Take it back to neutral.
Okay.
And we'll do that next week, probably.
Next week, and we have the World Show coming up right after that. So next week is going to be our last, and then you guys are going to get...
We'll be broadcasting live from our underground bunker, the World Taxidermy Show.
And we'll keep you posted with everything that's going on, and we also will try to include everybody that's not able to make it to the World Show. So stay tuned for that for sure. That was a lot of fun stuff, right?
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 What about your books? Nothing on your books. Those
Nobody's
are
got it yet.
cool books. We got time to show them.
Books? Yeah, you can show the books.
We've
The high
taken
one?
these to some shows. Give me that high book. This was Mandy's brainchild.
Keep guessing, guys. I'm not seeing it yet.
Look at the quality of these pictures.
Yeah, and it's nice that
Look at
they're
that.
all
Close,
that
Brent.
big, and you can really see
Dan
it.
Rips and
Lacey Combs, Dan Verrips, and Matuska Taxidermy pictures. All of those. Jig and Jim, you got it. The giveaway they were doing today was a helping hand yellow thingy, so you will have that on your count for you. The next one. Good work. Yeah, those pictures are.
They just don't get any better. There's just no better pictures.
They're really good pictures. Some are from our live deer. Lacey Combs does the rehabilitation place. I think she's in Texas, so she has a lot of good ones. And Dan is just an amazing photographer. So go to your eye chart at the very back.
Ryan Olson was pretty excited. There's a deer that has his head looking like way upside down, and the pupil is as level as can be. And he said, "I need that."
Well, he said he uses for judging because everyone argues with him.
Sure.
And that was when we went.
There it
and-
is. Look at that.
Let's get
That
it
deer's
close.
nose is right down here, looking straight down at the ground.
He's eating.
His pupil is as straight as can be, level as can be.
Yeah, go to the very end, I think, is your eye chart too. There you go.
Just some rules on eye setting, basic eye setting.
So you can, those are all online. There's 3 different books, the eyes, nose, and ears. All have high-res images and a lot of them. And then we also have a combined whitetail one that has basically all 3 put together. So again,
Don't forget,
For
30
sale.
Easter Bunny
That
form
book's for sale.
on sale.
yes, David, the books are for sale. They're $39 on our website, or you can call in and the ladies will have the numbers for you. They will be at the World Show. And
A lot of them. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
remember, 25% off your turkey sale. Follow us, Matuska Taxidermy, on Facebook, and also the crocodile. I thought you'd have it in here to show off your finished piece for all our live viewers who have been following it. But the crocodile is finished, and there's pictures on our Facebook page if you want to check it out. It looks amazing.
It's amazing.
I'm gonna
So,
put that tonight too. and put it on
Check that out for sure.
Combined effort.
So thanks for tuning in, you guys, and we'll catch you next week.